Welcome to the Heart-led Business Show, where compassion meets commerce and leaders lead with love. Join your host, Tom Jacobs, as he delves into the insightful conversations with visionary business leaders who defy the status quo, putting humanity first and profit second. From heartfelt strategies to inspiring stories, this podcast is your compass in the world of conscious capitalism. So buckle up and let your heart guide your business journey.
Welcome, heart-driven heroes. Today on the Heart-led Business Show, we have the fabulous Paige Arnof-Fenn, founder and CEO of Mavens Moguls, where she weaves digital wonders for giants like Microsoft and Virgin. With degrees from Stanford and Harvard, she's a branding bard with a passion for people. Join us as we dive into her journey of heart-led entrepreneurship and the art of crafting connections that really matter. Are you ready to feel inspired? I know I am. So welcome, Paige, to the show. How are you today?
Thank you, Tom. I am really excited to chat with you today.
I'm really excited for this chat as well, because in intro, degrees from both Stanford and Harvard, I would say that you're an overachiever, probably.
So I don't think I'd get into either of them today.
The first question I always like to ask is, what's your definition of a heart-led business?
So for me, it means being in touch with what makes you tick, what you love, what you're great at. So you can put your whole self behind something that matters and that you put people first. That it doesn't mean that you're not going to make a profit, but it means that if you attract the right colleagues, clients, and customers, you work in your zone of excellence, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, the combination of doing what you love, attracting the right people, and making a profit makes it so much more fun than the alternative, which I know from our previous conversation, you were in an alternative situation in terms of not necessarily being heart-led. So why don't you tell us your journey into heart-led business ownership?
I know it when I see it, and I sought it out. It's because my first job out of college in the 80s was a beeline to Wall Street. Not exactly heart-led, but the paycheck was awesome. The first Wall Street movie came out when I was a senior in college. Michael Douglas won the Oscar. When I saw the movie, I got hooked. I realized within a week of joining, I made a 2-year commitment. It was going to be a long 2 years. It really was not talking to my heart. The money was fantastic for a 21-year-old who didn't know much. After doing that for 2 years, I learned a ton. I met some great people, but I made a pact with myself that I was never going to take a job for a paycheck again, that I'm sure there's another path where I could put my smarts to good use and also really enjoy the ride. So when I went back to get an MBA, I was very intentional and deliberate about the companies I wanted to interview for and put my stake in the ground. I realized marketing really was something that I was good at, I enjoyed, and it was a great marriage of my left brain and my right brain. It was not all analytical. There was a creative outlet where I could really shine. I joined the biggest consumer products company in the world, Procter & Gamble. Some really big marketing companies believed in investing in the communities where they sold their products. Very profitable, successful businesses, but they put their heart into it. Even though they were the 800-pound gorilla in every category, number 1 and number 2 products, they also were very community-minded, and when there were things like natural disasters, they would come in and help the community rebuild. Procter & Gamble, maker of Tide, had 18-wheeler trucks so people could get their clothes washed.
I've seen those trucks in Houston.
Exactly. Coca-Cola owns Dasani water, and places where they couldn't get clean water, they would pack up trucks and distribute water to communities that needed it. And I loved working for businesses that put their money where their mouth was. Like, they knew that for the consumers to be able to come back strong and buy their products again, they wanted to build that relationship beyond the transaction. And that really left a great impression on me. I left my corporate marketing chapter and I joined 3 startups as head of marketing. And again, I mean, it was Internet 1.0 before things got really crazy. But I think there was a lot of positive energy in the early startup days. It was the Wild West. We didn't know what we were doing. These technology businesses started by these idealistic young people. They were younger. The first startup I joined, the two guys that founded it were younger than me, but they really did want to do well by the world. Everyone wanted to go public and make money, but also do right by the world. It was idealistic, fun, young, and energetic. That was a great chapter as well for kind of different reasons. And then after 9/11, I hung out a shingle and started my own firm. And when when the buck stops with you, when it's your business, you have a decision to make. And I really wanted to work with clients aligned with my core values and saw the world the way I did. It was a circuitous route, but I learned at each chapter, and I think I've built the kind of business that I can be really proud of.
That's great. What a great place to learn marketing than Procter and Gamble, the hallmark of marketing when you look at companies in the world.
Yeah, they invented brand management. It didn't exist running a business on a product. It wasn't just a profit and loss statement. You ran it
brand.
like your own company. Great training to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to also see how they give back as well. Because didn't they give soap to the ducks?
Yeah, Valdez oil spill, the
Yeah.
Dawn dishwashing cuts grease when you wash plates after a greasy meal. That exact formula, it did. It cleaned the ducks, and it was amazing in terms of getting the wildlife back to normal after the fact. So you're absolutely right that opportunities for their products to do good in the world and to help wildlife and humanity, that left a great impression on me.
How have you taken that learning and put that into your business?
One of my first clients, when you're a young business and sign on an early client, it's such a vote of confidence. I was excited to work for this small business. The guy hired us to handle all of his public relations for a year. He signed a 6-figure engagement letter. So I thought, wow, I really made it. My company is on the map. Early on, just in the first month or two, I was having a few misgivings because things weren't really as I was hoping they would be. The guy was not a particularly nice guy, a jerk. He wasn't paying us on a regular schedule. 2 months in, he was already behind on payments. So on month 3, we had a face-to-face meeting. This was well before COVID. We were doing a lot of meetings on conference calls. We decided to meet in his headquarters. I had 2 team members in New York City and 2 here in Boston, and he was based in Boston. The 4 of us got together at his office, and we were going to go over how we've been doing for the first 90 days. And frankly, the team had done an amazing job getting him some really high quality mentions in some of the greatest business journals and on cable TV. They had a lot of great in the pipeline. And so I said to the guy, since we're all together, maybe we could just, before we jump into the agenda, you can just thank the team and tell them how you think things are going. It's just, I feel like we hit the ground running and they've worked so hard. It almost looks too easy. I'm excited for all the great press they've generated. And he said to me, why would I thank them? I'm paying them. That was a gut punch. I knew the guy was a jerk, but that big of a jerk? Is that even, who thinks of that? And so then I said to him, it's funny because you mentioned paying, and in fact, we're a bit late on payments. So maybe at the end of this meeting, you could walk back to your desk and write a check so we can get caught up. And I could see the guy was just not really the kind of person I was proud to be working with. So we jumped into the agenda. We went through everything. As the meeting was wrapping up, I reminded him that he needed to get his checkbook and catch us up. And he comes back, and the meeting was not very fulfilling. When you do work that you're excited by and the client takes the air out of the balloon left, right, and center, you got to scratch your head and say, is this even worth it? So when he brings the check, I said to him, really don't think we're the right team for you. I think you're going to be better served by another group. And he was taken aback and said, firing me as a client? And I thought, I think we are. We've done a great job in the first quarter, and I'm thrilled we've delivered beyond our expectations. But at the end of the month, now that we're paid up, we should wrap up, shake hands, and part ways. And he was just shocked. And the four of us walk out of the meeting, we get to the parking lot, and it was like a weight had been lifted. And my team, they were in shock. They're like, I can't believe you did that. But it dawned on me, when it's your business, the buck stops with you. If you're working with or for people that are not aligned with you, again, from a values, mission, vision standpoint, I didn't want to build a business with people like that. My biggest fear, honestly, at that moment was, we knew he was a jerk, and he probably knew he was a jerk. And a lot of his small business owner friends probably absolutely knew the guy was a jerk. And I thought, oh my God, if people that know him were impressed by all the press that we generated for him, if they thought, I'm a jerk too, but I'm not as big of a jerk as that guy, imagine what that group could do for me. I thought, big red flashing sign. I don't want to build a practice with these types of clients. So if I don't cut loose now, this could take me to a place I have no intention of going. The good news is it's a feng shui thing. When you clear out clutter, it opens things up for something better. Within 6 weeks, we had replaced the revenue with great people that were aligned with us on so many levels. And the team was just like thrilled and explosive in terms of the energy they had, that really multiplied because of just getting that monkey off our back to learn in the first months of my company.
Oh, yeah. But the biggest question I have for you on that story is, did his check clear?
Yes. I deposited it on the way home from the meeting. I didn't want to take a risk.
Yes. Do you think that's a jerk thing to do,
That
right?
would have been exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's a question I ask of heart-led business owners. Are there times you need to make money and you take on clients? And I feel like your story illustrates the problem when you don't follow your heart, intuition, know who you want to work with, and still make a profit.
You can't fake that. I feel like if people think they can go through the motions, or just, oh, I'll just do it this time, and when we get through it, I won't do that again. It's a very slippery slope. So in my experience, you have to be brutally honest and do it right the first time, because you don't want to make compromises or just do something that's not congruous to the person you are and the business you want to build, because you'll make compromises in a way that it never turns out the way you want it to. And I think the more brutally honest you can be with yourself early on, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had those situations where money was tight and clients come in, you do the interview and just need the money. They always are a pain. Don't do what you ask them to do. And then they're not happy. So they're not going to refer anybody to you. They're going to actually probably badmouth you. It's not a win for everybody.
Exactly.
And that's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson when you're leading with your heart and you want to serve everybody. And you probably think, oh, they'll be different this time, but it never is. Your gut knows.
And even though this was a 6-figure contract the guy signed, we were servicing him at a level higher than what he was paying for, and he was not happy. I realized throwing more money at this was not going to make him happier. You're just digging the hole. What's the quote? When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. I realized we could not get out of this in a way that was a win-win. Like you said, he was never going to be happy, and we were never going to be the right group for him. By finding people more aligned with us, the energy explodes and things more than compensate, because they really are the kind of people you want to be around. And it just makes for a much happier, more productive experience.
When setting up your business, did you go through a process of doing like the core values, the mission, and the vision of the business? And then after this episode, did it have you go back? Did your mind say, I need to go back and revisit my core values, mission, and vision to make sure that this never happens again? And what was that process like?
So honestly, I'm more opportunistic than strategic. Yes,
Mm,
like I am very persnickety. I don't know what the right word is. For my clients, we do
very
the mission,
yeah.
vision, values exercises. That is something that,
Mm,
for this a certain type of engagement, that's non-negotiable. Bit of a cobbler's kid, to be brutally honest with you, because I have never taken my own business that
mm,
level of kind of intensity that I would for my own clients. However, I have with my team had very lengthy discussions and been very intentional and deliberate, the messaging and reviewing the website and talking about how we're presenting ourselves at certain conferences or meetings. So the answer is I think I'm constantly doing it in a way because I try and live our values every day and with every decision of who we're going to work with and bring into the group, both as a colleague and a client. It's more part of the air we breathe, the water we
yeah.
drink, but I do not do the level of intense process that I would for a client who's paying us a lot of money to do that.
Yeah. It feels like you intuitively can see when a new client approaches and you go, okay, let's make sure we're all in alignment and
Yeah, I
works.
mean, I remember after that experience with the jerk client, I was introduced to the CEO, hot technology business out of MIT, very prestigious investors, pedigreed team launching the business. And the guy met me at a networking event. He said he'd heard great things about our firm. He really wanted to hire us to work on his marketing. And when he gave me his elevator pitch, it really didn't resonate with me, to be quite honest, even though he had all the right kind of experiences on his resume. He was getting money from a lot of blue chip venture capitalists. He had all the makings for the golden child. And he said to me what his marketing budget was, which was not insignificant. But when he was telling me about his business, it just didn't resonate with me. I wasn't buying it the way that he was using all the buzzwords and jargon and
Yeah.
whatever. It's like he kind of had a very polished pitch, too
Polished.
polished, and it just didn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm a little old school. Maybe I've read too many Warren Buffett annual letters. He only invests in things that really he understands, and he understands how they make money. And this guy just wasn't doing it for me. And so I told him how appreciative I am that he sought me out and that he wanted to hire us, but I just didn't think we were the right firm for him. Then he
Mm,
like sheepishly laughed and he said to me, the truth is I was lowballing you on the budget. I've got more money than I had threw out for the marketing budget. Now he gives me a number like 25 or 30% higher. Now I'm sure you're much more interested in working with us. Actually, no, it's not a question of your budget. I don't think we're the right firm for you. It was almost like back in the dating days where the less interested you are, the more interested they are. That guy was
right.
stalking me. He had to hire us, he had to get us on the team. And I'm not going down that path again. I know what kind of partnerships are productive for us. I know the kind of firms we can really help be explosive. This is not that kind of firm. And finally,
Mm,
he got the message. But I do think if you're doing something because the money looks good or they're impressed with your resume or funders, probably not a great reason. It wasn't for me.
yeah. There needs to be that fit. It is like a marriage in terms of working closely together, and their reputation affects your reputation as well. And especially when it comes to marketing and PR, I would imagine that they do something really bad, but like you're there to save it. And then people are like, but why is that firm? And it gets tangled up.
And it is true that if you look at you spend the most time with personally and professionally, you are associated with them for better or worse. And so you have to look around and say, are these the people bring out the best in me? Are these the ones that are going to get me to the place I'm trying to go? And if they're not, you have to ask yourself, am I spending so much time with these people? Why am I doing this? Because you want to do things that really build your brand and build your reputation and not dilute the equity that you put into the brand you're building. I think it requires you to be brutally honest and say, these are my people or these are not my people, no matter how good the money is.
Yeah. The earlier you do that in your business, like you did, you had that experience that catapulted you to do that hard work. For listeners wanting to start a heart-led business, what Paige is saying is so critical for building that business that you truly love and the clients that you love to work with. If you start to go down the road where it's just, you really need the money, it's never going to work out.
Well, it's hard to justify, like I did it last time. Think about the opportunity cost. Think about what you're not doing because your heart's not in it. Your gut's telling you these are not my people. You could be building better, stronger relationships with people who are really going to get you where you want to go long term. Keep the long-term goals in mind and realize there are detours on your path, but it's okay to pivot. But it's not okay to compromise what you believe in and what you stand for, because you are diluting your brand and you are sending a signal to the people who might be great for you that you're not the kind of business that they want to partner with. So be careful.
That's great. And that pivot versus compromise, I think that's a really good distinction. Pivoting is very different than compromising in terms of compromising values.
Absolutely.
So glad that you brought that up. Paige, this half hour has gone by so quickly. What a great talk and conversation. I love the stories to illustrate what heart-led really means. You can still be very successful and profitable and still be a heart-led business. How can people learn more about your business and potentially working with you?
So the two best places are on LinkedIn and my company website, mavensandmoguls.com. And one of my clients always said, because my company has an ampersand and my last name is hyphenated, there are too many words for her to remember. She always remembers Paige and Mavens. If you Google Paige and Mavens, I'll pop right up. So you can find me that way too.
All right. Or pop that into ChatGPT and they'll get your whole history there as well. That's awesome. We'll link all that up into the show notes. Paige, thank you so much for taking your time out of the day and having a chat with me and having our listeners listen in as well. I really appreciate it.
Well, me too, Tom. This has been super fun. I love the premise of what you're doing and the stories that you're getting folks to tell. And I think it's such an important message. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Heart-led Business Show. I certainly appreciate it. And make sure you are checking out exactly what Paige is doing. Go to her website, check out everything. If it makes sense and you're heart-led as well as she is, and you're not a jerk, then make sure you give her a call. And if you could do me a solid favor and do what other considerate and smart listeners are doing, is to share this show with others that could use the advice that was shared today. And until next time, lead with your heart.
You've been listening to the Heart-led Business Show, hosted by Tom Jacobs. Join us next time for another inspiring journey into the heart of business.